y'all. Welcome to Adventures with Aggie, brought to you by Coco's Coffee House. Coco's is located at 175 Bleecker Street in Greenwich Village. Today, we launch a new series where we're diving into baseball. Our first episode features Jeremy Wolf. He's a Team Israel national team baseball player and the founder of More Than Baseball that's there to support minor league baseball players. He's going to tell us all about how this sport impacted his life. Please welcome Jeremy. Jeremy, how are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm so excited to learn more about you. But I guess first, can you just kind of go through your background and tell me who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Jeremy Wolf. I'm the co-founder and director of outreach for More Than Baseball. We're a nonprofit organization developed to help minor league baseball players access affordable housing, food, equipment, career services, financial guidance, and mental health coaching. I started it back in 2018 after just playing 2 years of professional baseball at the New York Mets. I got drafted in the 31st round out of Trinity University, which is like a small Division III school in San Antonio. Started it because the life of being a minor league baseball player is unforgivingly tough. It's unfortunately tough. And when I was playing, I was like, it doesn't need to be this difficult. There's so many holes in the way players develop at the minor league level that I just wanted to kind of do my part and not only like help the next generation of baseball players. We do a lot of stuff with like youth clinics and youth camps, but I wanted to make sure that my friends had everything at their disposal to help them while they were playing and then help them transition out when inevitably they'd be done. And so we're just a support net and we're a safety net for players that desperately need it. So that's my day job. And my afternoon job is I'm on Team Israel for the Olympics. And so I have the unbelievable opportunity and good fortune to represent Israel as part of the Israeli national baseball team.
That's awesome. I love it. We're going to dive into all of these things that you've listed, but I'd like to first kind of backtrack and just ask, why baseball? How did this become your sport?
Yeah, I always played it growing up. I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona, so it was a hub of baseball. The D-backs had just won the World Series in '01, and so everybody was so excited to just be a Diamondbacks fan and a baseball player. Spring training was out here, so like there are fields, and on every street corner, every high school has a baseball program. Every club teams weren't started yet. It was like at the heyday of like Little League. And out here in Phoenix, it was just so much fun to play baseball. I never wanted to play another sport. I think I played 2 years of basketball. I think like 7th and 8th grade, I played basketball. Too much running. And I played freshman football, and my grandmother was like, Jews don't play football. And so I played baseball. And just very, very happy with that decision. I think baseball taught me so many different things. Baseball, the sports that we play teach us kind of who we're going to be in life. And I'm very happy that like baseball chose me. And I was also like good at it. I was also better at baseball than the other sports. I wish I had played golf too, but they were in the same season. And so, looking back on it, my wallet would be a lot different if I chose one or the other. But I'm happy. I'm happy baseball chose me, and I'm just trying to give back to it as much as I can.
For sure. You read my mind. I always ask, like, how has it impacted you, I guess, personally and professionally? I guess professionally, I would love for you to kind of give the rundown of your playing career and kind of just how you navigated through that.
Yeah. So in high school, I was, I hit fourth we won state championship, but I didn't get any college looks. Not the fastest, didn't throw the hardest, but I always played like a solid left field. And I just wanted one school to give me a chance. University of Utah called and they said, hey, we want you to walk on and you might play your junior year. And I said, no, not going to do that. Trinity University called, Division III school I'd never heard of before, said, hey, we want you to come and we want you to play right away. And we want to give you an opportunity to like make the team or whatever. And I said, yes. Took it, loved it, loved with the coaches, loved with the people. Very unbelievably so fortunate to have had that opportunity. a friend of mine, one of my best friends from Chaparral went with me, and then our rival high school, Brophy, two guys went there. We actually played them in the state championship our senior year. And so the coaches were watching at their regional tournament, and we were playing each other and then going to go play together for the next 4 years. And so I'm sitting there the first time with Tim Scannell and Zach Fregosi, and he goes, the class that we're bringing in is so good. We're going to win a national championship when you're here. And I said, that's good enough for me. I don't care how much it costs. Get me in and I'll play. And I went to a place that wanted me to play, and I played every single game for 4 years, except for 4 because I forgot the signs. But I played right away, and I forgot where I hit in the lineup. But my freshman year, the whole lineup was seniors except for me, and so like throughout my time in baseball, I was always trying to like kind of fit in and kind of prove myself in that sort of way, and that really helped propel me to just. I played. I played summer baseball. I got seen. I was consistent. I focused for 4 years on playing baseball. All I wanted to do was get drafted, and then I got drafted by the New York Mets, and it was the best moment of my life. And I don't care for people who say that having a child is the best moment of their life. No, it's not. Getting drafted is the best moment of your life, and don't you forget it. No, but I'm very fortunate for like everything that I've learned in baseball. I'm kind of using that now to kind of just have fun, I guess, with the game and kind of give back and what it gave me, you know.
You're really good at this. You're reading my mind into the next questions that I have for you. I guess the next one is what have you learned? I guess what are some lessons, like, I don't know, takeaways that baseball has taught you so far? I know you're still active, obviously. It's not like you're reflecting back on your career. But yeah, what are some lessons that you've learned from the game?
Yeah, I've done these enough to know what's going to come next, you know. And we have a podcast too. I'll plus a humble plug here. The Grind is we call it The Grind, a podcast about life in professional baseball. I host it with former major leaguer Chase Darno, and we talk to professional baseball players and writers about their journey in baseball. And so I kind of use my perspective on kind of learning from them and their perspective. And so I too have a podcast, as does everybody. And so what did I learn? There's the obvious. You fail more times than you're going to succeed, and you might as well figure out how to do that, or you're not going to be a good baseball player. And everybody handles failure differently. I internalized everything, maybe because my mother's Italian and my father's Jewish, and that's just what we do as as Jewish people. But looking back on my career, I wish I had handled failure differently, and I wish I had prepared for seasons better. I basically maintained like my exercise schedule, or like the way my body was like throughout the year, and that worked for me. But in playing professionally, like I couldn't afford to have a personal trainer or whatever, and I just said, you know what, like if I just do the things that I've always done, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I can outperform whatever. But I put too much pressure on myself while I was in spring training and while I was playing, to where I couldn't keep up with the guys that were there. And mentally, because I couldn't keep up physically, mentally I was just drained. And by the end of my career, I'd gotten hurt, gotten released, and was just so exhausted that I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I was almost relieved that I wasn't playing anymore. 4 years later, to have the opportunity to play for Team Israel, it's nice to be playing baseball again, where it's about country over individuality. And it's nice to just play baseball to win again, rather than to try to outperform my teammates, or to try to get moved up, or to do it for personal reasons. So I've fallen back in love with playing, and now I have like another season, like another independent league season, just to play and get ready. And playing on Team Israel, from 2019 when we qualified, and now like getting ready now, I can finally like have fun doing it, where it's not like life or death.
Totally. Having the passion and like actually liking it, I think makes all the long hours and the work and everything that you're doing so much better. Not just you're good at it, which is great, but being good at it and doing it just because you're good at it, I feel like makes it a lot
Well,
harder on the athlete.
well, it's security too. It's like
Yeah.
when I look at like the top big leaguers, like Freddie Freeman and Anthony Rizzo are like prime examples of guys who like have fun and laugh, and you can see their personality, and they're not worried necessarily, at least outwardly, on their impressing people or trying to get moved up or trying to make a contract. They got their money and they play every day in the big leagues, and they could be kids again, because being a kid means playing carefree. And when you're in college, all you try to do is to get drafted. And there are ways to have fun doing that. I mean, if you're outperforming your competitor, like, you can have fun doing that. I certainly had my fair share of fun. But when you're in professional baseball and the odds are stacked against you, it's like heavily, and you're not eating properly, you're not sleeping properly, you're not getting paid, the fun of baseball isn't there. It's the job part, right? So for me, it was a job for 2.5 years, and I was not it was hard to find the love in it. So the fact that like minor league baseball players now, after not playing for almost 20 months, after not being paid for 20 months, other than like the grants that we gave them, or the stipend that some teams, the teams were giving them for 3 or 4 months, like, to still come out and still like be performing at the top of their level. It's just fascinating to see like what these guys go through to still be able to perform highly. So, but
Definitely.
yeah, it's the environment is of youth baseball, high school baseball, college baseball, professional baseball. It's very the game itself has changed from like just being a fun game to like look at these tech, look at the tech that's being brought in, look at these analytics, and looking at these numbers, and it's just less about like going out and winning baseball games now.
Right. I was reading an article on that the other day about why kids don't play sports anymore. And it's because a lot of them just say it's not fun now. Like if you're not good enough or your team's losing or something like that, or people are too worried about the numbers and things, I don't know, other kind of, I guess, outlying factors and stuff, it makes people not want to play. And I guess especially little kids, I think that's harder to pull them in.
Well, if you look at every sport, if you look at the top four professional sports, you could say five too, because of soccer. Everybody plays soccer growing up because it's at the rec league or it's at the rec center, and you get to play as a kid, and you get a jersey, and your dad's the coach, and you're playing because you're doing soccer and you're with friends, and that's fun. But when you look at baseball, less players now are playing little league. Little league is the same sort of thing. It's that recreational activity. You go out and play baseball with your friends, and it's a lot of fun. But because now it's so itematized, it's so individualized, there's such a financial burden with playing baseball, because you have to do the club team and you have to do the travel team, and you need to keep up with the analytics if you want to get seen to play college baseball. And high school matters less now than it used to, because players are getting so many opportunities to get looks if they can afford it by college coaches. They'll do showcases and they'll do these camps, but like if you're in Iowa, like what showcase is coming to Iowa? You're stuck in Iowa, so you need to figure out a way to set yourself apart. And so if you can't, or you don't want to, you don't have the money, like you're less inclined to play professional baseball. It's just my assumption, but that's just what I see. In basketball and football, you can get by on high school only, but you still need to do travel basketball. More people do that because it's more affordable. There's less players, which means there's less players per team, which means there's more opportunity to get on a team. Football, it's high school football will get you to college football. Then there are scouting combines and whatever and all that stuff that comes with it. But when I look at baseball and I look at the who's playing, the demographics of those that are playing, people that can afford it. But then I look at who can play in college, and because there are less college scholarships for baseball players now than there ever have been, less players are going to play in college, because if they're a good athlete, good enough to play college baseball at the Division I level, they're also probably playing basketball and football, and they're probably good enough to get scholarships at those schools too. And so they're gonna go play. They're gonna go get a full ride scholarship at those in those other sports. So if you got a guy who's can afford to go to college and you give him a 10, 20% scholarship, that's probably the most that guys are getting nowadays. you're going to get those guys that can afford to go to school. And so if the people playing college baseball can afford to go to college, then you're missing out on an entire generation of athletes who would be fantastic baseball players if given the opportunity. And that's the unfortunate truth of where sports is in America right now.
Definitely. Yeah, I think availability is one of the hardest things about the sports industry, like just what you're saying. I've even seen it myself, like growing up playing all kinds of sports. Like for some reason, so and so from my softball team didn't play the next year. And we were like, what the, like, you were so good. Like, why are you not playing? And it was money,
Yeah.
like just couldn't make it work. But I think that's true too about baseball having so many layers and I guess tiers to get up to where all the things that you've gone through and all these other pros have gone through. But I guess I kind of wanted to go to the top of that, I guess, with Team Israel here. How did that opportunity come about? I guess, when did you realize that this was going to be an option for you?
In high school, well, in college, I played Division III, and so there's this magazine. The Jews listening will know what it's called. It's called Jewish Baseball News, and they somehow knew all the Jewish baseball players in the country that are playing college baseball, and they ranked them. And I was always a Jewish All-American. I was like, look, I don't know how you know I'm Jewish, and there's only this much. So thank you for being an All-American, but like this is it. You can just say this is the Jewish team. Like there's not a lot of us playing baseball. And there's me, and then on Team Israel there was Simon Rosenbaum, who played at Pomona Pitzer. He was a Jewish All-American. Zach Spear, who played with me, was a Jewish All-American, and now and Jake Fishman, who's with the Marlins now in AAA and on Team Israel, and he was a Jewish All-American too. And they somehow knew, and so like the word gets around on who the Jewish baseball players are around the country because there was the WBC team that started in I think it was 2008. They did something 2013 or so, and then 2016 or something like that. And I'd always watched them, and I was like, well, I'm not a big leaguer, so I'm not going to be in the WBC team, but I would always like keep an eye on when they were doing national tournaments or whatever. And so I started More Than Baseball, and our mission with More Than Baseball is like to make sure baseball is more accessible to internationally or domestically. And so I called the Team Israel people, said, hey, I have this nonprofit. We want to bring equipment to Israel. When can I do that? And they said, do you want to play on the Olympic team? And I said, yes. And so like 6 months later, they brought me out to Israel. I got my passport with like a bunch of other guys. We were all on the team. We all needed passports to be on the team. And then I came back a few months later on Birthright, and I said, this place is so cool. Like, I want to be here. I want to live here. I want to experience what it's like living here. I want to live on the beach. The hummus is good. Like, wow, amazing. So I come back to Texas, and we had our European tournament like maybe 3 weeks later. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to quit my job and leave Texas, drive my stuff back home, go to Israel, do the tournament, and then, or go to Europe, do the tournament. The entire team, which is mostly made up of American Jews, they're going to go back to the States, and then I'm just going to go to Israel. And we happened to qualify for the Olympics in the process, and I went. And I went to Israel, and it was the best 6 months of my life. And I came back end of February, like March 1st-ish, which in hindsight was a good idea. And I came home to get ready for like an independent baseball league season. COVID happens. I'm back in Phoenix. I'm staying here. Olympics get pushed. And so like I've been here doing More Than Baseball and kind of just waiting to get on the field again. And now we're May 6th, and we'll have fun playing. Team Israel comes to Phoenix next week. We're going to do practices, and then I get to go play indie ball, and then I get to go play Olympics, hopefully. So
That's such a crazy series of events, I guess, to where you are now. I mean, like, even regardless of COVID, the magazine and just all of the things that had to happen to get here is so crazy to me. But that's awesome. I think I wanted to kind of move into More Than Baseball as well. I guess you already kind of talked about how it started and what the mission is. But I guess, what are y'all focused on right now? Do y'all have any like ongoing projects or things that you're working towards?
oh boy, do we.
Yeah.
The season started a few days ago, and right now players like aren't able to find housing because they can't afford it, so they can't put a payment on a place. But the places that they're trying to get into are 12-month leases because they go, well, you're a minor league baseball player, like, okay, just get the apartment, and then you can figure out later because the apartment complex company wants to fill in the rooms. So guys are like 6, 7, 8 to an apartment right now because they can't afford to do so otherwise because they haven't gotten a paycheck yet. So it's not like they can afford it. And there's no host families. There's no ability for them to live rent free. And the teams just say, you're on your own. And that's unfortunate. So we have a housing program. We're trying to make sure that guys have access to affordable housing, but also have access to affordable housing that understands like what situation they're in, and the ability to have a short-term lease, a 6-month lease, or for the entire season, rather than a 12-month lease that they're going to have to cancel and pay for on the back end. And so, like, it may seem from the outside, getting this guy housing seems easy, but it is most certainly not. It's one of the hardest things we've ever had to do as an organization because there are just so many guys. Not all of them need equipment. All of them need a place to live. And that's one of the many programs that we have. Financial guidance. Can we give these guys the understanding and the knowledge to know that, hey, what can they do with their money? If they sign for $10,000, well, what can they do right now to grow it as they are just not using it? If they sign for 50 or 100,000, the majority of guys sign for less than 150,000. So what if they sign for 150,000? That's a good investment. Some to taxes and some to the agent. And if you're a Latin player and you get $150,000, well, too damn bad. You have to give 50% of it to the agent that got you signed. Okay, so we're looking at these guys who, yes, on the outside, it looks very, they signed for this much money, but the average career in minor league baseball is 4.5 years. So how can we stretch $120,000 over 4.5 years? What knowledge can we give them? What sorts of understanding can they have about investing? Can we get them a financial advisor? We have all these tools in-house. All these players are using it. They're getting this knowledge, but it's just, all the stuff we're doing is just putting it in place. Mental health program. There are so many players that need mental health assistance, but don't trust their team in which is providing a mental health coach. If I'm stressed out from playing and I go back to the hotel and drink every night, I'm not going to tell the mental skills coach who works alongside the coaching staff that I go home and drink every night because that's the only way I can fall asleep. So we provide independent mental health coaching because that is the right thing to do. There's that. There's the youth clinics that we're running. There's international development projects. We're trying to work with more affiliates to do more than baseball night at the ballpark to bring like fans and players together. There are so many opportunities for more than baseball to do things because we're the only ones in this space that are able to do these things. And so we're just trying to maximize like the output and availability. Right now we have 3,000 players in the organization. We have about 150 ambassadors throughout minor league baseball, some of which are in the big leagues right now just because they've been in the organization for the past 2 years. Lucas Gilbreth of the Rockies just made his major league debut against the D-backs the other day. And so we're doing all of these things, and we get messages all the time that say, thank you so much. Without you guys, I wouldn't be anywhere. And that is like why we do this. The other day, we saved a player from getting deported. How did we do that? Because it's the right thing to do. And it was also illegal for his team to do that. Without us, he would have been deported illegally. Then what does he do? He's back in Venezuela without any opportunity to make money. He hasn't been back to Venezuela in 3 years. He was signed at 16 years old. Now he's 21 without any money in the bank, and the team just got rid of him. And so now what? And we answer those questions, the now what question. And we have to do it because nobody else does.
That's incredible. I had no idea what you were going to answer with that question, right? Because I see your website, I see the social, I see your posts as well. So many things going on, which is so cool to see that your reach is so big. You're 3,000 people in the organization, and just that there's no one else doing this is kind of shocking to me, right? Like I feel like it's been a need for so long. I'm so glad y'all are doing it, but I'm not sure why, like, anybody else, why didn't they think of it? Like I feel like it's been a problem.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
Who was going to put 2.5 years of pro bono labor into building a nonprofit helping minor league baseball players? Nobody, except for like me, Simon Slade, and like the 5 other people that we have in the organization. Slade and Simon co-founded with me. Slade's a former first-round pick New York Yankee. Simon's a current minor leaguer who's very public and vocal about some of the things that he's doing, and his team supports him. And his team supports him because we don't anger people. We just say, hey, this is what could be better. And if you don't like it, too bad. But we're on the right side of history on this stuff. Sorry that helping guys get affordable equipment is seen as a taboo when it comes to baseball fans that just don't understand. And there are so many comments that I see that are just like, well, they're professional athletes, shut up and dribble. And I'm like, well, to LeBron, like maybe, like he makes $30 million a year and is worth like $100 billion. Yeah, maybe to LeBron you can say shut up and dribble. You can't though, because he's obviously right in some of in the things that he's arguing, except for China. So that's a whole other argument that we're. But when it comes to minor league baseball players who are on average making $7,500 a year, can't say shut up and dribble because they need to eat and they need to sleep. And it's so easy to fix if you just put a system in place that allows that to be fixed. Getting a guy a mattress is going to help him sleep better. If he sleeps better, he performs better. If he performs better, he's going to be a more valuable asset to your team. So we're a tool for player development because we help this guy get housing and a mattress. And if he gets 3 more hits, that's the difference between hitting 250 and 300. It's 3 hits. So what if this guy's hitting 300? Then he's a prospect. Then you trade him away for pieces. Then you extend or create a championship window, and you win a World Series because of it. Because you had 1 more prospect that you could get rid of. So you have an entire system of minor leaguers that are just looking for a mattress and bed and a little bit more money so that they can focus on being professional baseball players and add value to your organization. So shame on me for trying to help these guys.
That's so crazy though. I guess if the people listening aren't convinced that what you're doing is awesome, what would you say to get them involved, and how can people support?
If they disagree, it's like, no one's ever asked me that if they disagree with it. If they don't agree with it, well, like, I think we can all understand that, like, the game of baseball needs to have better goodwill, better public reception. I think if we both love baseball, if you agree with me or if you don't, I think if we both love the game, we both want what's best for us. And if we want what's best for it, this is how I believe, this is what I'm doing to make sure baseball is continuing to proceed as a top 4 professional sport. I want more kids to play it because of the value that it brought me. I want baseball to be as strong and as popular and as important in 20 years as it is now, as it was 20 years ago. If you agree with me, like, support more than baseball, and support Adopt a Minor Leaguer, which literally adopts minor leaguers, gives them host families or families that support them. Support the programs that we have: financial guidance, mental health, career services, career transitioning. Support global baseball projects that we're putting in place in the Dominican, in Venezuela, in Israel, in Bhutan, in Micronesia, in all of these different locations around the world that have baseball fields, that want baseball. We have a community in Cameroon their organization's run by a 19-year-old Cameroonian kid that loves baseball, and he is so important and influential online. People send him equipment, and people will spend money to send him uniforms, and that's how he funds his program. And if he's going to do that, then if I'm in this position with the connections that we've made, I sure better make sure that he has the things he needs to make baseball popular in Cameroon or in Israel or in Bhutan or in England or in South Africa or New Zealand, right? Where people that want to play baseball have access to the game of baseball, no questions asked. So if you love baseball, work with us to make baseball more welcoming and a better place. And we do that every single day by supporting minor league baseballs on the things that they need. So if you agree with me, work with me on that, right? We want more than just your $20 donation. We want you to spread the word on social media. We want you to wear more than baseball gear. We want you to talk about it with your friends. We want you to go to minor league baseball games and see more than baseball players on that field, and we want you to go up to them before or after the game and say, hey, I support More Than Baseball. I know you're an ambassador for More Than Baseball. How cool is that? If you disagree with me, look at it that we're doing and tell me that it's not good for the game. And I'll be here to listen, but I won't agree with you.
That's perfect. I love it. I love it. I'll link everything below. Everybody can go check out your website and all your gear and all the cool projects that you have going on. But just to wrap up here, last question for all my shows is there one piece of advice that you would like to give to your younger self?
No, there's not. I do the things that I do because I just want to have fun. And I always had that mindset. I just want to go and I want to have the most fun possible. And we don't have a goal with More Than Baseball. I mean, we do. We want every single player in the minor leagues to be part of More Than Baseball. Automatically. They get drafted, they're in More Than Baseball. That's a goal of ours. We want to have a facility to where we can house players in the off season. We can educate them. We want to make sure every single Latin guy gets English language coaching, has the ability to become a student at a community college or a four-year university, have Americans have the opportunity to go to school, finish school while they're playing. Those are goals that we have. But like me personally, I wake up every day. I love what I do. I have the opportunity to affect people's lives. It's something that I wish I would have had when I was playing. And I envision all of these amazing things for our organization and then myself personally. I have the courage enough to talk about it openly. And I feel like that's sort of when I get asked that question, like, how are you doing this? Or why are you doing this? Because like, this is what I'm passionate about. And so until it supported us as people, myself, Simon, and Slade, we put in hours and hours and hours of work into this because we, with our entire being, believed in it. And I think I'm certainly not a rich person, but I feel unbelievably fortunate to have the opportunity to do this as a job. And I've put myself in position to do this for a very, very long time, or at least as long as More Than Baseball is needed. And the way things are going, probably for a long time. And so to answer your question, what advice would I give is just do the things that I'm passionate about. And and do it. Like, do the work. If you set your mind to do something, get it done. That's it. That's how I found the happiness that I've always wanted to have. At 27, I totally fulfilled with my entire baseball career, my entire baseball life. And just very thankful that I'm able to do this every day just because of the hard work that we've put in. We put ourselves in position. We created opportunity to do it. So create opportunity. That's my advice.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. I love it. Awesome. Well, Jeremy, this was a really fun show. I love this. I loved hearing about More Than Baseball. It's so cool to hear it from you rather than just reading the website and things. It's really cool to hear insight and things, but thank you so much.
Well, I wrote the website. So you're in it for me a second time. Oh, thank you. This is fun. I want to come back. So have me back or have Simon and Slade back. And
please,
if anything, just let us know.
Awesome. Jeremy, thank you so very much for sharing your story and letting us know how you can get involved. The links to More Than Baseball are below in the comments. Stay tuned for another episode of Adventures with Aggies diving into baseball on Wednesday featuring Renee Rismondo. She's an NYU alum and she works at the Major League Baseball Players Association.